Hi, I'm Jennifer Podemsky, and I wanted to just give you a little bit of an insight to us as Native people. We don't love land acknowledgements. We don't love listening to them, and we usually don't present them in our own ceremonies or gatherings. So I wanted to offer something special, and that is an action item that will amplify your work as an ally and bring more attention to the work that I'm doing at the Shine Network, which is a not-for-profit organization serving Indigenous women in the screen sector. So we've created a course, the first one of its kind in the world. It's a cultural sensitivity course for the Canadian screen sector, and it's available for free at theshinenetwork.ca. It's called Pact, and I would love for you to take it. And that's my land acknowledgement. This is an actionable way you can showcase your allyship.
Hey firecrackers, it's Naomi and welcome to the Firecracker Department. Welcome to the day before 2025. I'm recording this December 31st, 2024 as we look forward to the next year. And I have to tell you, I've been reflecting a lot. I'm sure you have too. This time of year always makes me reflect so much. I do a thing called the Compass Workbook, and you can get it online. It's a really good way of sort of looking back to your past goals and the things that you did achieve, the things you didn't achieve, and then looking ahead to new goals and setting your sights on new dreams. And it's a really good way. It takes a while. It's like 2 or 3 hours, maybe longer, because you get in such a reflective mood. So it's good to sort of do a little bit of work and then go away. But I have to say, like, what a year Firecracker Department has had. Huge thanks to the entire Firecracker Department team. Gosh, I might have started Firecracker Department 6 years ago, but I certainly could not have kept it going without folks like Pau Carranza, Veronica Martin, Liesl Lafferty, Aislinn Paul, Stephanie McClarty, Anne-Marie Kreitschuk, Jennifer Rowley. Oh my gosh, Jennifer Rowley, who's been editing our podcast for like 6 years. Extraordinary. But also people like Virginia Abramovich and Ashley Rains, Angela Murdoch, Jody Quine, Susan Soreo, Zainab Tuck, Corey Mack, Kristen Grun. I mean, I could really go on, and you'd be like, that's enough. Can we get to the episode? Yes, we'll get to the episode. Hold on a second. I just have to say, I did a play this past November, December called Big Stuff. It was at Crow's Theatre. I did it with my husband, and it was easily one of the hardest and most rewarding things I've ever done in my life. It was all based around the fact that in 2020, we lost the last of our parents. So we're just like a couple of old orphans now. And, it's a comedy, it's interactive, there's heart to it. But one of my favorite moments of the whole show was at one point in the story, I talk about starting a business, starting a community of women and non-binary artists online. And 9 times out of 10, there's a firecracker in the audience. And when I say that little part of the story, I hear that firecracker going, woohoo! It's not a huge woohoo, but it's so delightful. It makes me so happy. It just sparks my heart so much. It just makes me feel like, our community is extraordinary. And thank you. Thank you for supporting us by mentioning our name to other people when you talk. Thank you for supporting Firecracker Department by creating things with us. Thank you for joining the various programs that we have coming up and elevating them with your own artistry. It's a huge thing. It's probably one of the best things I've ever done in my entire life, this Firecracker Department. And doing it with all of you, not only the Firecracker Inner Core team, but all of you is it's beyond what I can actually put into words. But I know that I'm grateful, and so thank you. And don't stop supporting each other, supporting Firecracker Department, supporting yourself. 2025 is going to be an amazing year, and I can't wait to see what you all create and what we all create together. Speaking of creating together, I'm so thrilled to have Nia Vardalos as our guest today. Now, Nia, you'll know Nia from things like My Big Fat Greek Wedding and one, two, and three that she wrote, starred in, directed. But then she also wrote a book called Instant Mom. She was on Law and Order, Special Victims Unit. She was on DuckTales. She voiced DuckTales. Right now, she's a stage actor, of course. And right now, she's in New York City doing Pen Pals, the play. She's there until January 12th, 2025, in case you're listening to this. I don't know when you'll be listening to this. But she's just a firecracker of all trades. And I've always admired her. I've admired her for her artistry, her activism, the way she attacks her career, the way she shares her art. And then I got to talk to her for an hour, and now I'm just like next level fan. She just moves through the world with such grace and such passion and such positivity that it makes you just come away from talking with her going, oh yeah, I can do anything. Yeah, she truly is an extraordinary person, an artist. I feel really lucky. And you'll see, I feel like we could play like Nia Naomi bingo, where all these things we had in common. It's like worked at Second City, check. Worked at Yuck Yucks, check. Like all these things. It's quite amazing how many things we had in common. Now, the reason we got a chance to have Nia on our show is because she said yes to being an ambassador for the Writers Lab in Canada. Now, just a quick blip about the Writers Lab. It's a program that's been running for so long over in New York City with Nitsa Willon and Elizabeth Caden as the founders and creators and leaders of that pack. They agreed to coming and starting a chapter in Canada. So Firecracker Department partnered with the Female Eye Film Festival and brought them to Canada in December 2024. And we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again and again because it's so important. It supports women over 40 getting their scripts to the next level. So we had 8 writers writing for 3 days, intensive workshops, intensive discussions, and everybody came out of there elevated. Their scripts elevated, their hearts elevated, their artistry elevated, and the cherry on top was having Nia Vardalos as our ambassador. So as I said, if you thought you were a Nia fan before, you are going to be an Uber fan after this talk. And you're also going to start writing something. I guarantee it. I would love it. Hashtag Nia made me do it. Because I bet new projects are going to start just from hearing this discussion with Nia. All right, here we go. Here's my chat with Nia Vardalos. Okay, well, here we are. Folks, this is honestly, I just said to Nia, this is like an intense chocolate 3-day cake. And then Nia's the cherry on top because we've just spent 3 days with 8 extraordinary screenwriters. And then today we had another like 80 online and in-person auditors chiming in to find out about screenwriting. And then we get to talk to you, which I think you're just such an incredible source of inspiration. And I can't wait to share your story with folks. And I know everybody knows who you are because of the success around Big Fat Greek Wedding, but also with your book and your writing and directing now. You directed Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, which is extraordinary. So I just want to go back a little bit and get a little bit of a base Nia line in the world of your upbringing. Like Winnipeg is where you were born originally.
Yeah, born and raised in Winnipeg, and which I think is really important for how it formed my comedy, because we have a lot of theater in Winnipeg. We know that we are often the joke of Canada, because it's cold. It's really cold, but I think it made us funny. And so I went from Toronto to Ryerson Theatre School. I believe it is now called Toronto Metropolitan University.
Mm-hmm.
I went there, and while I was there, where we were being trained in Shakespeare, it became very clear to me that I had pushed myself so hard to fit into this square area, and I was a round little peg. And I went to Second City one night, and I saw improv.
Wait, in Winnipeg?
In Toronto.
Oh, in Toronto. Okay, dokie. Yes.
Yeah. And that's actually, you know what? I did see a visiting Second City troupe in Winnipeg before that.
Yeah.
I did.
Because they used to tour so much. That's how I was introduced to them too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when you're in Toronto, you saw them.
Yeah. They went to the University of Winnipeg, where I was taking courses as I was preparing myself, because I didn't get into theater school right away. I think I auditioned once or twice, didn't get in, which I highly recommend, because It's awful when it happens to you. Failure is awful, but at the same time, it's such a gift because it makes you, and it's so Hallmark greeting card to say that right now, because at the time it was devastating and I acknowledge that. But it was really good for me to not get in because it made me really think, well, what do I want to do? Well, I want to be a classically trained actress. I kept telling myself. And then I got to theater school and I was surrounded by people who were so much more focused than me on going to Stratford and going to Shaw.
Yes.
And I admired them so much. We're still friends. And I realized, I don't know if that's me. And so I went to Second City one night, saw improvisational theater, and just set my sights on getting in there. And I worked in the box office at the old fire hall. And it is safe to say that if they knew what my antics were, they would have fired me by, in the first week, because what I would do is after the show started, I would just take the phones off the hook and just leave them there. And I'd go into the theater and watch the show because I was like, they're sold out for 8 years. They're fine.
I know, because it was such a small theater. Like, it was just killing it. Like, they were selling out and doing runnings of shows for 100 years. It was amazing.
Exactly. So I was like, I can go in there and watch the show. So I watched and I started to see the process of writing in the third act, which is the improvisational set. And I thought, oh, they never deny each other. They never say, if somebody says, here comes a big pink elephant, the other person says, yes, and it's wearing a tutu. I gave it for its birthday. Like everyone always would further a scene. Anyway, and then the impossible happened. And this has happened 3 times in my career, in that sadly, an actress got sick one night and was rushed to the hospital. And I went backstage and I said, I am a member of Actors Equity, because I had done a lot of musical theater in between. I'd done the Muskoka Festival. And I said, I'm a member of Actors Equity and I know your show. And the stage manager was like, get out of here. And I was like, you bet. And I left the room because I was like, now I'm going to lose my box office job. And she said, as I was leaving, I passed an actor and he was like, what are you doing? And so I said, this actress is sick and I know the show. And he immediately said, do you know None? Which was the name of the opening 2-hander, him and the actress. And I went, yep. And he started to fire the lines at me and I fired them back.
No.
And he looked at the stage manager. He goes, put her on. And they had no choice. And so they put me on. And Chicago Second City heard about it. And the next day, Toronto Second City hired me. And I learned how to write.
Like the next day?
I reported for my box office shift and they were all standing there. And I took the classes. I learned how to write. I was a member of the cast. I made equity scale. I made a living as an actor for the first time, for an extended period of time, for the first time in my life, 18 months, 2 years. And then Chicago Second City came up and scouted me and brought me down to Chicago and gave me my green card. And that's that story.
I mean, I wish that it's such a fairy tale comedy story, right? Like that just never happens. It's like such a rare instance. Yeah. Do you think there was anything just that prepped you? Like you had like hardworking parents, right? They were like they were not like, your mom was a bookkeeper, your father was a land developer. So did you think that kind of gave you a path to that kind of work ethics, to that kind of drive and vision? What do you think it gave you?
I really think so. I mean, there's a line in Hamilton, Lin-Manuel's Hamilton, where he and another character are talking about how hard they're working. And they say to each other, immigrants, we get the job done. Yeah. And they high five each other. And I was so stunned to see that from sitting in the audience, because I thought, I think that's where I got my work ethic from.
Yeah.
My parents always volunteered at our church, because in Greek communities, your church is your center. And so we would do fundraising and to pay off the church, because there was a mortgage, right? And all the kids would, do this big festival every summer called Folklorama. And that's such a Winnipeg word. We know it is, and we love it.
Right. Yeah.
And that, I think, was really, really important for me to learn how to just hunker down, roll up your sleeves, work. So I realized now, I got so lucky when the person got sick and I went backstage and I said it. But what had really happened before that is I'd done the work. I had memorized the show. Why? I don't know. I don't know other
Yeah, but I
than
think that's love, right? You fell in love with comedy hard, and then
yeah,
you were just like crushed out on comedy.
yeah,
Right? So
yeah. And
yeah.
then that was it. And then I was doing it for a living, which is
Yeah.
absolutely bananas and a gift.
Did that give you a sense of like false security though, having that kind of not easy success? Because you definitely did the work prior to having that big break, but did that give you a false sense of success to where your life went afterwards?
No, because I'd really scrambled for work before that. I had auditioned for a lot of musicals and not made it in. I'd taken singing classes. I'd been also a waitress at Yuck Yucks. And by
Oh
the
my
way,
God,
what?
Nia, me
Yeah.
too. You're
Oh my
saying so
God.
many me too's. I went to Ryerson. I have immigrant parents. I was waitressing at Yuck Yucks. Oh my goodness. Are
I
we
know.
sisters? And I didn't
We
even know it.
are. We
Oh,
really are. Underneath this is a
I love it.
blonde wig.
Oh no, are you kidding me? Come on. Like I'm so dark. So yes. Okay, go on. So Yuck Yucks.
Yeah, and so I didn't look, I always say, it's not a struggle when you're pursuing your dream, but I did not have overnight success. It was very difficult for me and I was worried about me, to be honest. I actually had this story that happened in Toronto where I used to walk to Yuck Yucks from where I lived at Jarvis and Gerrard. And I would walk to Yuck Yucks for my shift and I saved every single penny at that point. And when I would walk to Second City for my shift and I saved every single penny. But one time I was going to Yuck Yucks and I was late and I hailed a cab and I asked him to hurry and he was really nice. And he said, "Are you upset?" And I said, "I just can't be late. I can't lose this job." And I had done musical theater in between, got back to Yuck Yucks, so I really appreciated Yuck Yucks. Every time I was available, they hired me and I was a terrible waitress. And the cab driver was very quiet and we looked sort of locked eyes in the mirror. And I believe he was from India or Pakistan because he had that same eyes that I have, dark eyes looking at each other. And he took me to Yuck Yucks and he stopped and I went, "Thank you so much." And I went to hand him a $5 bill and he said, he wouldn't take my money. And he said, "I want you to take a moment every day and breathe and appreciate your life and know that you're going to get there."
What?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Like this being beamed down to just tell me something. And I thought, thank you. And he wouldn't
I
take
will
the money.
forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And he
Yes.
didn't take the tip. And that changed me. That
Yeah.
made me realize. So when I did go backstage at Second City a year later, I was calm. I took a breath and I said, like, basically my subtext was, "I'm going to solve your problem." Basically, I was solving my own problem, but I was trying to let them know that I could be useful. And then, that's happened to me twice since, where the impossible has happened and I just sort of went, jump. And I just jumped off the cliff and something
Incredible.
great happened.
It's such, these such like jewels of these moments in your life that people look at and go, "Oh, Nia had it easy. She just went from Toronto to Chicago to suddenly Big Fat Greek Wedding," as opposed to recognizing, of course, you worked your butt off in between there. Like, what kind of, I don't know, what kind of advice do you have about the in-between times between the big breaks? Because truthfully, there isn't one big break. We have a bunch of big breaks that get us to the next level. And one of the big breaks was this taxi driver. Like, those are also many big breaks.
Yeah, that's sweetie pie. Just a man in his 50s seeing a woman in her 20s struggling. And I just appreciated him so much. I think, look, the struggle usually comes with financial bereft, right? So you don't have the opportunity to look at it through rose-colored glasses and say, "This is my struggle. This is awesome. I'm going to talk about this on Colbert one day." It's just not that way, right?
No.
It's hard when you're not achieving your dream. But if you just go quiet and listen to what you really, really want, you will find it. and you will write it and you will create it and you will make a community with that woman who also is trying to write something. If you're an actor and she's a writer, and perhaps you can create something together. And as Pollyanna as that sounds, it really is true. Nobody's going to hire us. We have to hire ourselves. We got to work together. We got to create our own material. We have to form our own production companies, and we have to hire each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's so funny you should say that. Before I got Second City, I put a sign on my wall that says, "What do you want?" And whether or not I like meditated on it, was always present. But it's exactly that. Like, it makes you focus of like, am I on the right track? Is this what I want to be doing? And if it's not, like, get at it. What's stopping me from doing the thing that I actually want?
Yeah.
So what was the span like between writing My Big Fat Greek Wedding, the first one that got discovered? What was that like from the Chicago Second City days?
Chicago Second City is a very, very aggressively, what's the word? Just an environment where people are really, really believing that they should be there.
Yeah, it's intense. It's very competitive too.
Yeah. So as a, middle child Winnipegger, I was like, whoa. But it really made me realize that no one was going to give me permission to be there. Even the producers had believed in me and had helped me get my green card. That also was a year-long process of filing papers, and it was difficult to do. And I didn't have any money, so of course I did it all by myself with the people at Second City, Joyce Sloan and Cheryl Sloan, signing any paper I needed. It was incredible. So that was a lot of work. And then Lorne Michaels came through Second City and scouted and did not choose me, not even to be flown to New York to audition. And so I thought, man, I've got to get to LA now. So I had done a lean cuisine commercial, and that
I have done one of those too. What is going on?
We're twins.
Nuts.
We're so twins. Well, my commercial was just a what is it called? Like a demo. Like I got put in a demo.
Oh yeah. That they don't even air.
That's right. It's $900, something like that. So I go, great. So of course I take the $900, and then I went in to see my agent one day in Chicago, and she sort of looked stricken, and she said, "They're cutting you out of the demo." And I went, "Oh no, I didn't know what that meant." And she said, "And they're putting your pieces from the demo into the national commercial." And suddenly I had money, and I had something like $7,000, and I put it in the bank and got myself to LA to try to get a pilot, to try to get something going into film, into a TV show, anything. And that sort of optimism, I highly recommend. I don't ever look at myself and go, what a silly girl. I just say, yeah, do it. Yeah, try it. Yeah. And I was doing voiceover in Los Angeles, trying to get a job. I had been cast in tiny little bit parts. I lost my agency and my management company because I didn't get a job. And a lot of stand-up comics were getting development deals at the time. And I would go to comedy clubs. Everybody did back then, right? And I would think, oh, that woman who talked about all her first jobs. Oh, I later read she got a development deal. And I was like, I see what she did. And so I started to think, what can I do? Even though actors weren't getting development deals, stand-ups were. And I made a list of every story that I've been telling about my family for years. And I made just a list, like Aunt Bula. I really do have an Aunt Bula that has a lump on the back of her head, neck that she claims is her twin. About my dad, my late dad, using Windex on everything, that it would cure everything. I just made lists. And then I thought, I'm going to write a screenplay. And I didn't have a computer, nor had I'd read 3 screenplays in my life. Like I'm a theater person.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I borrowed a friend's computer and I looked up Final Draft, which is a program I still use to this day. Shout out to Final Draft. It's the easiest
they need more
program.
Shout outs.
Yeah,
folks,
really.
They're suffering.
Yeah, they're not doing well financially.
No.
And I figured out Final Draft and I just wrote Fade In. And I decided to just hinge it on an event because now I know what I was doing. Now I realize, oh, that's an inciting incident, which I now know I learned at Second City.
I was going to say that's location, right?
Yeah.
To get a location from your audience.
That's exactly right. And we used to call it, today is the day. Do you remember that, Naomi?
Yeah,
Today
or we'd say it's sunny. What's something special in Italy or something? It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Something special happens on Tuesday.
That's exactly right. And so I thought, today is the day that Tula wants to quit the family restaurant and go to school and make something of herself. And conventional screenplays have conflict, as in there's an evil person, right? That's fighting against the will of the person. And I don't really like that because I think that life is hard enough. And so I made it that there's nothing fighting Tula except her confidence. And I wanted to never show a makeover scene where she rides a bike and loses weight. And I wanted to never show anything other than she decides to put on some contact lenses to make herself feel better. And in the end, she attracts love because she loves herself. And that's a really hard sell for a screenplay.
I mean, especially back then, like now people have heard that kind of attack, but that's a different thing. What year was that?
I wrote it in 1997.
Yeah, right. As a stage production.
No, as a screenplay first. The press always got it wrong. So always the notes that accompany my life are always wrong. I wrote the screenplay, couldn't get it read. I didn't know about the Writers Guild. So I sent it to the Library of Congress to register it as a screenplay because I didn't know. And I sent it to Paramount Studios. It came back so fast in its manila envelope that it like slapped me in the face.
Right.
I sent it to every studio going, want to read my screenplay? And
right.
No. And then I decided, because I knew Jeff Garlin and also Julia Sweeney's work, that was storytelling. Because you remember, I'd waitress like you at Yuck Yucks, and I thought, I can't do that. That's not my forte. I'm an actor. And when I saw them do what they do, I thought, aha, that's it.
I can do that.
Storytelling. Yep.
Yeah.
And so I started to jump up on stage at open mic nights and read one story, and people would respond so positively that I thought I may have something. And if only I had listened to myself earlier, because Joyce Sloan, our producer at Second City, and Cheryl Sloan, her daughter and our producer at Second City, always used to say to us, who are you? This place, this theater is for you to figure out who you are. Go with what you know. And here I am on stage being told in Los Angeles, there are no Greek roles, so I can't get you work by agents. And here I am on stage reading stories about my Greek family, and people are laughing. And I thought, I finally heard the message. So when I borrowed the friend's computer, I kept making adjustments to it. But the Library of Congress had the screenplay. And here I was sitting going, well, now what? So I rented a theater, and it was so expensive. It was $500 a night. Our old stage manager from Second City, Chicago, Jimmy Yotto, lived in LA. I asked him to run the lights for me, $50. I handed out flyers, which I printed, which were expensive, another $10. And I had 8 people in the audience the first night. And those people came back with their friends. And I went to church and I handed out flyers. And those Greeks came to the show and came back with their non-Greek friends. And that was it. I felt like, well, now I have a job. I'm happy in LA. I have created a piece of theater. A lot of people came to the show and said, this should be a movie. I'm going to change it to a Hispanic family. And I would say, well, I've written the screenplay. And they'd say, well, you're an actress. And I was like, yeah, like Emma Thompson and Rocky. Like I was like trying.
Right. It's been done before. Yeah.
It's been done by 2 other actors. So maybe, and they didn't want to read it. They wanted to change it to a Hispanic family. And because that was the market at the time. Fair enough. And I waited and I kept doing the play and I was happy because I was working.
Because you're working.
Yeah, the play never made money, but it broke even,
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
one night, the phone rang and I knew, that who it was because I answered my own phone in a different voice and I did my own box office. My
Sure
own
you did.
home phone
Yes.
number was on the thing.
Wow.
And Rita Wilson, who I knew was Greek, because when Tom Hanks won the Academy Award, he said, and I know the meaning of the word passion because I'm married to a Greek woman. And I was like, who's he married to? And so I already knew, and I was so excited that Rita was coming to the show. And she laughed so hard at the show, and we met afterwards. And her very first words to me were, I love you. And I was like, oh, I love you. Oh my God. And I've seen you and everything, and I told her all her credits and we became fast friends. And she said, this should be a movie. And I sent her my screenplay and the phone rang the very next day. And they wanted more tickets for the show for family. And I didn't know if it would be Tom Hanks. And I didn't ever want to ask. Well, it's just not the Winnipeg way.
Yeah.
And
like, who are you bringing, Rita? Do you like, is there a Hanks I should put on the reserve signs?
Yeah. And sure enough, they came to the very next show, Tom and Rita's brother and the male family members. Rita's
Tom,
dad.
look at you, just Tom. Yeah.
Tom. Yeah, Tom. And if the story had ended there, I'd be happy. I'd be like, that happened. And I'd still be dining out on that story. And then I got a letter at the theater from Tom saying, sorry, I had to run out, but I had carpool the next day. Which is unbelievable.
Just like us. They're just humans like us.
Yep. And it's framed on my wall. And then my phone rang because Rita already knew that was my home phone number and that I was, doing my own box office. And they were, they never laughed at the stories. They laughed with, because they too,
they understood it.
They weren't born famous, right? They worked their way up. And so, then my phone rang one day and it was Tom Hanks. And he said, we've read your screenplay and, I'm forming a company with my partner, Gary Getzman. And, Rita and I want you to play the bride. And you just, just go, well, that happened.
Yeah.
But
like to me, like on the outside, it's like diggity boo, right? Like it's so easy because they came to your show, you get the letter, blah, blah. But like there's also the minutia, right? Of the contract negotiation, the second, third, fourth, 10th draft. Like, can you talk a little bit about the process? Because I think it's really important for people to recognize it wasn't a fairy tale. There's a lot of work behind it.
Yes. The script that I sent off to the Library of Congress preceded the play, which is why I was nominated in the original category and not adapted, which is really interesting. Even if you adapt your own work, you're in an adaptation. So that's interesting. So that script came back with its, stamp that I own these characters, the title that I'd created this thing. And then all of a sudden I had this sale and I was driving to Playtone and getting notes from these amazing people. And it occurred to me that I had to believe in myself like they did. There's Tom Hanks with a list of notes, saying, big things about my characters, like they mattered. And I realized that I had to make sure that they mattered because it was going to be the first Greek American movie. I didn't want to say this is what all Greeks are like. I wanted to say this is what my family's like, etc. And the enormous burden of that can be a little bit crushing, but you just got to push it aside, like punt it to the ditch. Just every single thing that you feel is pressure. I'm going to tell you one thing. The night that Tom Hanks came to the show, I was standing in the wings and I was looking through the crack in the flat until I could see him. And I knew exactly where he was because everyone around him was just ears. Everyone was looking at Tom Hanks.
What's he laughing at?
Exactly. And I was waiting to go out and I said, okay, Vardalos, you can either be really mad at yourself in 90 minutes or really proud of yourself. You've been doing the show for a year. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to crack?
Mm-hmm.
Like after all that time that you and I have had on stage, failing with our castmates at Second City, it's like you almost have to say to yourself, it doesn't matter. And that's what I recommend for writing. Doesn't matter. Just write. Your first draft will be so ugly. You'll look back at it later and go, wow, that was long. And it didn't make sense or something. And so that's what I do. I write. I just try to say to myself, be a fearless idiot. Just write. And when I went back into the script, I had the incredible support of Playtone saying, write what you want. You just trim where you want. And I was like, oh my God. Like they'd say, we're going to be an independent film, so we don't have the luxury of overshooting and then trimming in the editing room where most films are formed. We need a fully formed script. And I'd say, what do you want me to cut? And they were like, what do you want to cut? And I was like, wow.
It just doesn't happen. That's just so rare though. Like it seems like it was such a charmed experience where sometimes we get notes that are like, this actually challenges the core of this piece.
Oh, we got people come in, financiers come in and just insult me blatantly right in front of my face. Like just say, hey, I have some people, we're independent financiers. I have some people who want to make this for $14 million, which is, a lot of money. And by then it was 2000. And, no offense, you're not in it to me.
Yeah. What about that? And were you like, well, so long, sucker?
I would just go, wow. I found out later after we opened that apparently they had taken it to every studio and every studio had passed and said, love the script, lose the girl, about me. And they were like, nope, we've seen her in a solo show. Nope, this is her story. Nope, she's playing the role. Like I think about all that over and over and over again. And it makes you aspire to be that good in your career. Yeah. Like I mentor now. I mentor through the Academy. I mentor through the Writers Guild. As you know, I've written a book. All the proceeds from my book go to get kids adopted. It made me realize.
Instant mom.
Yeah. Instant mom.
Folks. Yep.
Yeah. If you buy that book, you're getting a kid adopted. It's placed 2,000 kids in permanent homes.
Wait a second. If you buy that book, you're getting a kid adopted? Every book gets a kid adopted.
Well, that's what it seems like lately. It just seems like every single time that book, my reps and my Instagram are filled with pictures. And I'll tell you why. When I was on my press tour, a lot of people came because my book is about empowerment, right? About not about adoption advocacy, but just do what's right for you advocacy. And a lot of people would say to me, I think I'm going to have a biological child and adopt, or I just want to have biological children. I don't want to have children, anything, right? And I would always say, send me a picture of your future. And after about a year and a half, the pictures started to roll in and they are incredible.
Gorgeous.
They're just,
but I like that for art too. Like send a picture. What's your picture of your future? Yeah. And there's so, we were talking about this the other day with this, the Writers Lab Canada saying like how it's very easy to get bogged down with the I can'ts and then it's hards. But what about the picture of it actually is happening? Like, why aren't we replacing those tough decisions, those tough thoughts in your head and being like, on your way, sir, ma'am, person, whoever it is, and then focusing on the picture?
Yeah, this is such a personal thing, but I'll say it. I had a gynecologist once say to me, irrational thoughts are part of being a creative person. And I thought, a piece of wisdom can come from anyone as you're sitting there in a paper gown. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, because you're a creative person, you're going to also have wide-ranging imagination, an imagination that's going to sometimes torture you a little bit. And my advice to you is take those irrational thoughts, look at them from all angles, and then put it in a drawer and put it away. And you can take it out every now and then. And it was at the time that I was trying to have a child. And my thought was, well, what if I don't have a child? And years later, I'm so grateful I didn't have a biological child because my child is my real child. I found my baby as a toddler, literally like a shock. And my book is called Instant Mom because I had 14 hours notice.
No, I didn't know that. 14.
Yeah. After, 10 years of trying. So I like to tell these stories because we have a plan and we have a picture of how the plan's supposed to happen. And there are aspects of our life that, of course, are going to happen that way. And many, many, many pieces of our lives don't. And that doesn't make them failures. That makes them hard-won victories.
That's back to the improv world, right?
Yeah.
That we, get ready to expect the unexpected, right?
Oh my God, how many times have we been on stage and the scene is just dying and you don't know what's going to happen? And the audience in Chicago, especially, would just start to shout insides, "You suck." And you're just like, oh my God. And then you get an idea.
Something happens.
Something happens. And the scene is saved. And it's great. Or it's not saved. And so what?
Yes. Yes. Let's just keep going. Like resilient, right? Like let's work on the muscles of resilience.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Firecracker Department podcast with me, Naomi Sneakus. Make sure you follow us on our Instagram page at Firecracker DEPT. We have a lot of cool things happening. You're going to want to follow. Trust me, it's a good time. Somebody asked about the Greek community, because I bet, like, since you're so, like, wait, weren't you were given the Queen of Greece? Weren't you you gave the key to Greece, weren't you?
I've been given the key to Athens. Doesn't work. And and I've been given the gold Jubilee medal from the Queen. I have the gold Jubilee medal from the Queen.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I had dinner with her.
So I mean, it's sort of like synonymous now that you are related to Greece in some way. Is there a way, like, is there a big market? Somebody's asking, is there a big market for work from that, or is that something that you've been pigeonholed in? Do you find it hard to do anything else other than Greek related stories?
I'm mostly pigeonholed in that people think I only want to be in things that I wrote, and I don't. I love to be in something I didn't write. And that's the message constantly that my agents are trying to send out there. I'll only get an offer if the script needs a rewrite and I'm going to be directing it too. And I'm like, no. I just want to come and, put on a new jacket and try out a role. So that's my only thing. It is not a bad thing to be pigeonholed in something that has brought me great happiness. So I accept it. I accept it and I keep doing it. And I wrote a play. I went to New York and I was a thespian again for many, many years. I write other movies. I write for other actresses, and I just make my peace with it and push, just keep telling people that I want to be in other stuff.
Yeah. So we've just spent 3 days with these screenwriters through the Writers Lab, and they're tearing apart and putting back together their scripts. Do you have any thoughts about that stage of writing? And do you have a team of people around you that are your go-to supporters? Because I feel like that's part of it.
Yes, I have a group of improvisers who I'll have read it out loud, which helps me immensely. I have someone read my role too. Because you don't get a lot of rehearsal for a movie, and for a play you do. I loved it. When I wrote my play, I had 3 workshops in New York and 3 months in between each workshop, and that doesn't happen for a screenplay. So I recommend always have your friends read it out loud and be open to a new note, and also throw a tarp over your vision, because sometimes someone can have a new thought, but it's not going to be a great thought. It's like improv on set. Every actor thinks they can improvise, and Naomi, I'm just a snob about it, but all actors think they can improvise, and they can't. But I, of course, say to everybody for the last take, improvise, have fun, because it makes everyone feel free and happy and super dirty, and HR comes to set and says, stop it.
Right. Yeah. But it's the playground.
That play around. Yeah. And play. And sometimes, look, I'll give you an example. I hosted a Writers Guild event one time, and I asked the panel, how do you deal with the stupid studio note? And I remember Alexander Payne and Jim Taylor said, well, we try it. And often they will see that we've tried it and they'll say, well, that didn't work. And that's interesting, right? So that's interesting. Charlie Kaufman said, I just stare at them until they feel stupid for speaking. And so you do what's right for you.
Yeah.
You have to find your way.
And has there ever been a note that you were like, it hurts your ego not ego, it hurts your heart?
Yeah.
Like my feeling is that if I don't take a note, it's because my ego's too ridiculous. Because really, what's the harm in taking a note? I have a draft that's still available. I can always go backwards.
No, because it's one voice. Your script has to be one voice. So I don't think notes are always great. And an example is that a financier said to me that in my Big Fat Greek Wedding, the groom needs to cheat on the bride before the wedding and win her back. And I said, nope. And then he said, Jesus, okay, then the grandma dies.
It's one or the other, Nia. What's it going to be?
I don't know where I had the chutzpah to say no. But no, I've gotten excellent notes. I've written a series for Audible called Motivated about two motivational speakers who hate each other. And I got such great notes from the executive that she thought I was kidding when I would go, thank you. That was excellent. And she was like, Nia,
you don't have to be sarcastic about it.
Yeah, exactly. 10 episodes. And she said, Nia, we have a bet at the office that when we get off the Zoom with you, that you're like, fuck them. And I'm like, no, it's a really good note.
There's another question about adding jokes, like, because your system is so set up for comedy, in your system when you're writing, you're like, I know there's supposed to be a joke here. I don't know what it is yet. So how do you, I wish there was 1-800-GOT-JOKE. Like I could just call in a joke. But what do you do when you want to punch up something or find some more comedy in a script?
I play all the parts and I'll find it. So I'll walk around my office and I'll be like, Joey Fatone's character says this, and Gia's character, Nikki, says this, and that, and I'll just play, and then I'll find it. Improv.
That's good too. Yeah. Just be on your feet a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about notes? Somebody's asking about notes that were counterintuitive to the culture element of what your storyline is. So something that you really know, like, Greek people, that family so well, and somebody's going to come in and go, actually, I know a little bit more than you do. What do you do for that kind of thing?
Well, I think that sometimes their note might be regarding universality. So whereas you will know your culture so very well, sometimes a very good note, which often came at me from Playtone, could be, can you explain this better? And often at Second City, remember we had a saying, explaining a joke is like dissecting a frog. Either way, the frog's dead. And so we're
I haven't heard that one. I like that one though. Yeah.
Yeah, we're adverse to explaining jokes, but a setup will help give it a base so that the joke takes off. So often if an executive or somebody or an investor or a friend says to you, is this funny? Just take a good look at it, because if they're not understanding the joke and they're your good friend, sometimes it's that the setup is not quite strong. Mm-hmm. So regarding culture, you know your culture more than anything. I know my culture more than anything, right? But there's always a good idea somewhere. And what I love about Playtone, I've made 6 movies with them now. And what I love about them is a good idea can come from anyone in the lunchroom. So if it's an intern that went to a small university and happened to apply for the job and is there, and we're all eating lunch together, and they'll say, actually, I saw something at Sundance recently and it's like that. So maybe it should be this. It's a very fertile environment. Mm-hmm. And nobody goes, you're the intern. We all just go, thank you.
Have you ever had like hiccups? Have you ever fought on a note?
Yeah. Yes, I have. Yes. The script for my Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 was supposed to be that we adopt a child and go to Greece with the father to baptize it. And in the process of after I'd finished it, we had the pandemic and we lost my dad. We lost Michael Constantine, who plays the dad. And it gave me pause because I didn't want to do the movie anymore. And I realized, to be honest, what was really bothering me is that it wasn't universal. It was a story that I had experienced, but it wasn't a relatable theme. And someone at Playtone who has read from my very first script, Ted McCarthy, gave me that note. He said, this has happened to you, but has it happened to Tula? And I didn't know what that meant. And I walked away, and then the world shut down, and I had all this time to think about it. And that's when I realized a family reunion is a relatable story.
Right.
And that's what my Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 became, a family reunion. And so sometimes the hardest note is the most difficult because I tore apart that script. I don't think there's a word left in it from the first draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this what you imagined your life to be in this stage of your career?
No.
Like, what's the difference between the success you envisioned when you were at Second City box office to what your life is like right now?
I was hoping I would be on a sitcom. I was hoping I would play the wacky best friend and that I would have the autonomy that I had at Second City. So I realize now that even though it's hard because I have to write everything that I'm in, to work, to act, I always have to write. And writing's not my first passion. I love having written, but acting is my first passion, and now directing, and then writing's a hard third. No, cooking and then writing fourth. But the most satisfying thing is having written. And so, I love it. I love it. My office is just a pile of scripts. Like, I'll show you something. Wait, we have to go past the Kleenex box. I will show you right here. All this, the Kleenex box, all this are projects that I'm developing. Each one has notes and has a different file, and their dreams, their ideas, their wishes that I want to, create next.
Incredible. We're going to wrap it up. If there's any last questions, I've been taking things from the chat, and if anybody from the room wants to add them to the chat. One other person said, what key networking / people skills beyond writing and directing do you think are important for making connections and getting your foot in the door?
I will tell you something. If you're a marginalized voice, as in a woman, a non-binary person, a person of color, an indigenous person, if you're a person who is not necessarily considered the norm, you're going to always have people who will doubt you and push against you. And so this is a Winnipeg adage, but you just got to be nice. You got to be nice all the time, because you have to be overly nice, even to the people who have wronged you. And I do have many, many people in my background who wronged me and then badmouthed me. But in the end, that goes away, because your character is always the thing that people believe. So my only advice is get in there, go to parties, talk to everybody, follow through, don't burn a bridge. Even if it's been burned on you, just sling across a rope and get yourself to the other side. And in the end, it will all work out.
You're such a treat to talk to. I don't want to say goodbye. This has been so beautiful. I can't think, this is our first year doing the Writers Lab Canada, and you're our first ambassador. And truly, I can't think of anybody better with the history that you've come from artistically and where you're going next. Like, you're not, look at you got a stack of scripts that you're working on developing. So nothing's slowing you down.
No, you got to keep working, always keep working. And I was just going to say, as the ambassador, I'm going to make myself a sash.
Please. I'll make you a sash. I'm very crafty.
Better be out of toilet paper.
Yeah. I've got a couple last firecracker questions, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah.
So these are just firecracker wrap-up questions. What is something that people don't know about you?
I'm really shy.
Oh my God, lies.
Yeah. It takes me a minute. I suss out the room, and I see an ally and I go for her, usually.
Okay. I get it. You find your people quickly.
Yeah.
What's something that you have to do?
Work every day. I have to write. Because you'll lose that muscle and you lose your storytelling ability. So even if you write a page, don't force creativity. If it's gone for the day, and then it comes back. And if you're lost in a moment, just go for a walk, go shopping, buy a pair of shoes, look at a pair of shoes you're going to afford when you sell your script, and just write every day. And don't be afraid that no one's going to buy your story, because when you've written it, that's 3/4 of the success.
Muscles are huge. I think that's really, are you getting back on stage anytime soon?
I am. I'm going to New York to do a play called Pen Pals, only because you just say yes,
Yeah,
in December, January. Yeah.
that's amazing. Wait, next year or this year? Like you're not
This
leaving soon,
year,
are you?
I'll be in Toronto for Christmas, all of us. And
Okay.
then I'm going to New York from Toronto to do the play.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay. That's a great reason to go to New York. Here's another
Yeah.
question. What's been your favorite mistake and what did you learn from it?
The best mistake that ever happened is the first time I directed, I was given, I think it was a $6.5–7 million budget to make the movie. And every time there was a new meeting, the budget was reduced. And I was promised a very, very good DP. We flew to New York to begin filming, and the DP, while we were in the air, got a better deal. So we got a guy, and that guy had a nervous breakdown every single day. And I was a new mom. I was wearing a winter coat on the streets of New York and a wig because I was directing and in it. And that was the only way that they could do my hair while I was on set setting the shots. And this DP every day would melt down. And I learned in that moment to fire people. Just say, you know what? This isn't working out. You don't work here anymore. And that's what I should have done. Yeah. Yeah.
Love. Great lesson. I've got a question from our hub room. Writing for women is incredibly important, but when you have the opportunity to produce your work on set, culture is huge. On-set culture is huge. So working on My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 what was the best set experience? And oh no, somebody was in it. Oh, Ashley Rains was in it. It was the best set experience she's ever had because of the welcoming and supportive set you created. It's not a question. It's a note that you kicked ass and Ashley Rains was on set and loved it, loved it, loved it.
Thank you. I'm so happy to hear that because my first job here in LA was for a tiny part on a tiny sitcom that Jennifer Grey was on. And she got up out of her chair, walked across the soundstage, greeted me, said, "This is where you're going to put your purse. We're all going to put our things there and do the table read." And I just appreciated her so much because I was lost in space. And I thought, if I ever have my own show, that's what I'm going to do. So thank you for saying that, Ashley. I'm really happy. On My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, we worked on Zoom to prepare the office with the Greek production company we'd partnered with, who was excellent. And when I got there, I saw that the women in the office were all in assistant positions. So I said to the line producer, "What are the remaining roles that I need to hire out now?" I was there 3 months before. Pour me in Greece for, for pre-production. What are the remaining parts that we have to hire now? Jobs on the crew. And we listed them all. And I said to him, I want you to only bring me women applicants now. And he said, "But we have so many women in the office." And when I explained to him the hierarchy, he got it like that. Because men hire men. So that's their right. So we have to hire women. So we did just such a search, and the crew at the end, by the way, we never had a gender issue whatsoever on our Greek crew, which you got to really look at that and say, these things, these toxic masculinity ways are in the past. Okay, we had one guy, he was a dick, but anyway, we had one.
Always going to be the one.
Yeah.
I'm also going to blow your mind that I also worked with Jennifer Grey and she was also delightful.
What is happening?
I don't know what is happening. Okay, two more questions. One is, I always want to shine a light. Like we're having this great time with you, but who's a firecracker in your life that you could shine a light on?
Catherine Greenwood.
Yes, forever and ever.
She's my bestie. When we met each other, we were polar opposites in terms of physicality. And Catherine is blonde and slight, and here's me just like this loud Greek girl, and all my hair was, and we just looked at each other and immediately started writing material together. And that trust that we had, and like you overstep a boundary with a friend and they tell you and forgive you and you learn and you move on, was incredible. It was the best.
And Catherine Greenwood was from like Wind of My Back. She's on Ghosts right now. She's in Women Fully Clothed. She was in one of my favorite improv things, which was Not to Be Repeated, which I saw constantly. Okay, final question. Final question is advice to your younger self, advice that you would have given yourself 40 years ago.
I think embrace the dork. In the end, it's okay. Don't try to be cool, because it's not your thing. It works for other people, but not for you.
I love it. I was a this fan, and now I'm like a this fan. I think you're so incredible. Please, can we hang out when you come to Toronto?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're so, so, so grateful to have this time with you, but also for the light that you're shining on with your ambassadorship. It's really incredible. So thank you so much. It's really been important for us this first year to have your support.
Thanks, you guys. This was so nice. This made me feel great. What a moment of just lovely kinship with everyone.
I can't wait to send you the toilet paper banner for you, the sash.
I'll bedazzle it.
You will. All right. Thank you, Nia.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Okay.
Bye from everybody. Firecracker
everybody.
Department,
Bye.
FEMA Life Festival, and the Writers Lab Canada. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye. Extraordinary, right? Yeah, she's just a person that makes you feel like you can take on the world. And I've known her for years. We bump into each other at various Canadiana parties in Los Angeles, and just instant jokes. You know when you meet somebody and you can laugh about similar things and you think, oh, we're going to be easy friends. That's how I felt when I met Nia. So you're going to want to go and follow her at Nia Vardalos and keep in touch with all the work that she's doing, all the art that she's creating. And drop her a line, drop her a line over in her Instagram and tell her how much you loved this chat. Share the Firecracker Department positive love over her way. Don't forget to go on over to our YouTube channel and check out the video content of all these episodes and more. There's going to be lots more Firecracker Department content coming your way. Okay, Firecrackers, 2025, what's it look like? What are you going to do? Who are you going to work with? How are you going to see obstacles and then get over them? Are you going to get a partner that's going to keep you accountable? Are you going to buy a new book that's going to inspire you to start writing? What's the thing that's going to take you forward towards your dream? I know one thing for sure. No one's going to do it for you. People might open doors for you, but you're going to have to step through them. And I have to tell you, Firecracker Department is in your corner. We're here to help you along the way. You're going to have to do the heavy lifting. You're going to have to write the script, the second draft, the third draft, the fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th, who knows? But you're going to have to do it. But we are here to inspire you and introduce you to your people to help you build your teams. For instance, the Igniter Challenge is coming up, and that is an extraordinary program we started with the Canadian Film Fest last year. What it is we challenge you by giving you a prompt, a first line and last line of dialogue, and then we give you mentorships, we give you panels, we give you a meet and greet if you need to find your team, and then you have 1 month to make your 6-minute short comedy film. And the winners get their film seen at the Canadian Film Fest. It's a really, really fun program, and a lot of people from last year's have gone on to create even bigger things and work side by side with some extraordinary artists in our community. So the Igniter Film Challenge is raring to go. Let's go. I have to tell you, there are so many things. I can't actually let the cat out of the bag right now, but we have a couple of new projects and partnerships coming up that you're going to want to be a part of. So stay tuned. Subscribe to our newsletter, firecrackerdepartment.com. Make sure you jump in at our Firecracker Department private community page over on Facebook and meet your folks over there. I have to tell you, I've never been to a Firecracker Department party or event or project or happening when I didn't meet somebody extraordinary and find more of my people. Also, here's another way you can find your people, is go and check out our monthly comedy department show. And that's going to be over at the Assembly in Toronto. All this information, all this and more at firecrackerdepartment.com. I really hope you have a great 2025, everybody. I hope this is the year that kicks your career, kicks your art into a deeper, more purposeful, more joyful place. It's all there for you to take. Just reach out. Roll up your sleeves, reach out, and get going. Huge thanks, huge thanks to the whole Firecracker Department team, and huge thanks to you for making Firecracker Department what it is today. Happy New Year. Our podcast is hosted and produced by me, Naomi Sneakus, and Pau Carranza. Our editing team are Jennifer Rowley and Jana O'Connor. Copywriting is done by Rebecca Gismondi. Video and graphics manager is Aislinn Paul. Jody Quine is our website designer, and Angela Murdoch is our socials manager. Big thanks to our actioneers, Veronica Martin and Pau Carranza.